1, 2, 1, 2. That's a bit too loud. 1, 2. Still too loud. 1, 2. How about that one? Gonna drop it all the way down. Well, good welcome. Good welcome. Sound check 1, 2. It's still too loud. Can't believe that. How about that? Let's try that. Third and hopefully the final sound check for this SRT TrackMasters round 4 for GT3 from Imola here at RaceKraft Simulations. As we get into some actual moving cars on track, welcome to round 4 of the SRT TrackMasters Academy GT3 series from RaceKraft Simulations. My name is Chris Mitchell, and I'll be taking you through all the action tonight. We are approaching the halfway mark in qualifying for tonight's endeavour around Imola, the infamous race circuit host of the San Marino Grand Prix, and the place of demise, unfortunately, for the late Ronald Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna in 1994 at said Grand Prix event. But tonight, we're going to have some fun with some GT cars. We follow along the RK4 machine of Cameron Edwards, WA Sporting Car Club race manager, currently sitting 5th on time in the session, as John Lee comes in and out of frame for just a short moment. Currently, Liam Fisher is your fastest man on track in the nicely presented yellow Ferrari 458. So Liam Fisher on track makes his way down. He holds a 0.6 of a second advantage over Second place of Daniel Opedisano joining us from, I believe, the Race Centre in New South Wales. Good to see some of our New South Wales competitors joining us tonight as we've got something like a 23-car field for this GT3 race. We'll scroll through your times so far. And let's recap. Liam Fisher, fastest at the moment with a 144.2. Daniel Opedisano on screen with a 144.9. Jeremy Perez in third with a 146.04. Cameron Edwards on the RK4 machine on a 146.45. Bryce Moore is P5 with a 146.5. Adrian Casanova is P6 with a 146.6. David Baggett is P7 with a 146.6. Andrew Lachlan P8 with a 146.9. Followed by Cade Bell, John Lee and Shane Angelinovic in the 11th spot. Benno in 12th. Steve Mybra jumping in there as someone's jumped up the order. Scroll up and see who that was. Craig Spencer jumping into third there with a 145.3 for the young West Australian. Johnny Lee back in 11 now, followed by Shane and Benno. Steve Mybra in 14. RK9 piloted by Vaughan Brewer in P15. Rowan Maltman in the 16. Mike Peps in P17 from Shane Gilfeather. Mason Harvey now jumping in there as Peps has jumped up the order, I believe. Luca Nietzsche showing P19, having not quite set a lap yet. And we are joined also by the RK5 machine, which may just be our race referee and driving standards observer for tonight, Alex Zani in P20. Jake 2512 in P21, Aaron Dooley P22, and Anthony Jewell just jumping into the hot seat, P23 so far. We're going to try and jump on with Anthony Jewell. He's always one to watch here, and he's doing it old school tonight, trying to prove a point that the Bentley is not a slow GT3 car on the Project Cars 2 environment. He's rocking that, and he's going to use the H-pattern shifter to boot. So we'll see if Anthony can put something on here for us. And we'll bring up your track map so we can follow along all the action while I jump online and pull up the actual track map of Imola. So we can bring you all the out-and-out racing action. A little bit about the Imola race circuit. Was opened in its original form in 1953-1954. Hosted its first Formula One Grand Prix as a non-championship event in 1963, which was won by Jim Clark all the way back then. Further non-championship events took place in 1979, won by Niki Lauda, driving for Brabham Alfa Romeo. And it officially made its debut in the Formula One calendar as a scoring round for the 1980 Italian Grand Prix, being the only time since 1948 that the Italian Grand Prix has been held at a circuit other than Autodromo Nazionale Monza. The race was won by Nelson Piquet, and the race was so successful that they decided to re-establish the race as the San Marino Grand Prix, which was held from 1981. Track's changed a fair bit over the years with the addition of many chicanes to try and slow down the race cars, which were going much too fast. It was originally just a couple of bends joined by very long straights with very high speed sections, and it was a little too risky for most people to get around. With safety always in the forefront of mind in international motorsport, the addition of Tamburello chicane, Alta chicane, and Rivasa slowing things down, and the variants of at Villeneuve 5 and 6 as well. Follow along Anthony Jewell, who's currently parked himself into the 8th spot with 146.7. Cade Bell behind him on time with the Audi R8 on a 146.9. See if we can jump on with Adrian Casanova as he leaves the racetrack and all the way through the dirt. He's actually pulled to the side to let the other cars going through. We'll grab Cameron Edwards again in the black and red Audi R8 LMS. Cameron currently sitting 6th fastest with a 146.4 as he brings it out of Rivazza onto Variante Bassa, which is the main straight, and comes on down to start another lap. 11 minutes and 45 left to go. Alexani is our driving standards observer tonight. He's going to follow along from the RK5 machine showing up on screen, so don't pay attention to RK5 in the back of the timing order, as he's not currently in competition, as he just dishes out some instructions to drivers about track limits, being the hot topic of discussion at many of the recent RaceKraft and SRT TrackMasters Australia Academy events, just to make sure drivers follow their track limits and try and look after each other out there. So as it stands, 11 minutes left to go. We follow the RK3 machine of Bryce Moore on track, rocking the Audi R8 as well, as he makes his way out of the first set of chicanes at Tamburello and up the hill towards Villeneuve. Down to second gear, left and right section, before heading up into the Tosa hard left hairpin. Getting a little bit wrong on the inside of the corner. He currently sits 9th fastest in the RK3 machine. Jump forward to Craig Spencer, always a fun one to watch in his all-white, all-right Audi R8 machine, as he comes down the hill into the final couple of corners and onto the main straight. Sorry, I stand corrected. Out of Minerali and on the way to Alta. Turns 11 and 12. He comes up behind Johnny Lee, who's jumped into the seat. Johnny currently sitting 15th on time with a 147.5. Very tight on the chicane, the exit of Alta here. And Craig, just a little bit of weaving of the tyres, trying to get some heat into maybe a fresh reset of the car and try and generate maximum traction as he makes his way down to Rivazza, before he will power down and try to start a new flying lap through the double left-hander, turns 14 and 15. And then it's relatively straight all the way around here, but does make up turns 16 and 17. And cutting off the inside of the circuit on the way to the main straight, Spencer starts a new flying lap. Currently sits 3rd with a 145.3. He is a second slower than Liam Fisher, who has seemingly done enough at this point with that 144.289 to hold the fastest time in tonight's qualifying session with 9 minutes to go, as Johnny Lee off the track. We always make a bit of fun of Johnny here at RaceKraft. Been a lot of background talk lately about Johnny's real talents. And I hope to God his current sentences are not being broadcast live. This will make for a great replay. Craig Spencer has been dropped by Mike Peps into second with a 144.6. As Spencer makes his way out of Piratella, up the hill again into Minerali. Goes tight really quickly, and you've got to be very finessed on the brakes to pull the car up before you crest the hill and make the run towards Variante Alta. Through the right-left chicane. Lots of chicanes here at Imola Raceway. Trying to regulate the speed of the cars and slow things down. Through the slight kink at turn 13. Pull it back across the racetrack. Hard on the brakes. Apexing and running all the way out to the exit on turn 14. Tuck back in for 15. And maximise your exit. And hope to God you've got enough speed to carry it all the way through 16 and 17 down the front straight. Spencer hits the line and does not improve. He sits on a 145.3. He was 0.3 of a second slower on that attempt of the lap. We'll jump around and we'll grab the RK8 machine of Anthony Jewell in the Bentley. I must say the Bentley is a beautifully presented car. Would be super heavy and swapping ends if he uses too much of those tyres underneath him throughout the race distance. But at the moment, he sits fourth at a big bite of the curb there. Coming out of Rnd4. And will make his way all the way down through the right-hand kink into Ravazza. A couple of dips in the road there that really unsettle the car as you're trying to pull it back across the racetrack. A couple of complaints coming from drivers in the practice session. The grip level's at an all-time low for these GT3 cars, and they're wondering how they can seek out more time from the car. As Jewell comes down, we'll see if he's managed to find a bit more time. And he goes to 145.1. Unfortunately, 1/10 of a second slower than what he had, so will not improve on his current standing in fourth place. He's got to catch Daniele Pedisano with 144.9 to get that spot. Mike Peps in second with the Lamborghini. Beautifully turned out Huracan GT3 entry. Looks so wide on the road as he comes out of Alto. It looks like we're picking up all of these cars as they come out of turns 9 and 10 on the run to 11 and 12. Alright, we'll try this microphone for good measure and see how that sounds as I got a couple of messages. Shout out to the guys messaging from home, letting me know that the audio was really quiet.
Sorry, boy. All good.
Hopefully the audio here is a lot better now, and I'll see if I can get some game sound going.
3 minutes to go in the session.
Try this microphone for good measure and see how that sounds. I got a couple of messages. Shout out to the guys messaging from home, letting me know that the audio was really quiet. And I'll work on seeing if I can get the in-game sound going as well once we get up and running into the race. Check back in on the action. And Liam Fisher has jumped out of the session somewhere. As I'm trying to change screens on my main input. So Liam Fisher has left the session. That has allowed... Oh, look here. Now this could be an awkward one. 2.5 minutes left to go. Fisher gone from the session. And has dropped out. So that's put Mike Peps to the top spot. Daniele Pedisano has gone to second. Anthony Jewell into third now. Craig Spencer fourth in the RK4 machine of Cameron Edwards in P5. Jeremy Penez rounding out sixth. Adrian Casanova in 7. Shane Gilfeather joining from New South Wales in P8. The RK3 machine driven by Bryce Moore in P9 and Andrew Lachlan in P10.
Look at the mid-pack there with the 146s.
1 minute and 40 left to go. I'm going to jump on with Liam Fisher and see where he is on track. He's not yet started a flying lap yet. He's only going to get one to try and set a quick one and put himself up the order. As he comes out of Tosa on the run up the hill into Piratella. And I'll have to get a message out to Liam and see what happened that made him leave the session and decide to come in and try and set a fast one right at the end. 1 minute left to go. He will hopefully get around to start a flyer, and he should get about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to try and set a quick one. Given a lap here takes 1 minute 44 seconds at its quickest, Liam is going to be hard pressed to set a fast one at the back end of this session. As I've got a check in from Sumich family, I'd love to assume this would be Caleb Sumich joining. We'll jump back over to Liam Fisher as he brings it out of Ravazza for the final time to try and start a flying lap. So Fisher will have enough time to start a flying lap here, and we're going to follow him along towards the end as we're running down the final 20 seconds of the session. Fisher hits the line to start what will be the lap of the night, I am sure. As John Lee currently in the house, giving instructions to all drivers to watch their track limits, watch their re-entry, as there's going to be a lot of cars in the house. We've got a 25-car field or 24-car field running. And that is the main master clock expired. Fisher all over the curves, heading up the hill through turns 5 and 6, across the racetrack into turn 7 at Tosa. Can't even get a good read on where he's going to sit. So we'll go through your provisionals at the moment. Currently, Mike Peps on the top spot. Daniel Pedisano in second. Anthony Jewell in third. Craig Spencer fourth. From Mason Harvey dropping into P5. The RK4 of Cameron Edwards goes P6. Bryce Moore, P7. Jeremy Penez, P8. Adrian Casanova in P9. And Shane Gilfeather rounding out your top 10 as we follow along with Liam Fisher. Coming out in turn 10. Big bites of the curb. Out of Variante Elta on the way down towards Ravazza. Turns 14 and 15 for Liam Fisher. Surely he can pick off a mid 145 to put himself inside the top 5 at least. It's going to be a big ask for the man on one warm-up lap he's only managed to put in. Big ask of the car sideways out of turn 15. And an absolute clutch moment. You couldn't put any more force through the right pedal if he tried. Liam Fisher tries to set a lap at the death knock of the session. And he goes through. Where did he end up out of that one? 5th. 145.3 for Liam Fisher right at the end of the session. That's a wrap for qualifying here for the SRT Australia TrackMasters Academy. Round 4 for GT3 from RaceKraft Simulations. We'll be going racing in just a moment. And hopefully, in the meantime, I can get in-game sound working.
Are we on the Facebook? You fucking got us again.
Can you hear anything? Yeah, I can't hear anyone. No.
On Discord, you can't hear.
All right, looks like we are getting set to go. And we are lights out and racing for half an hour here for the SRT TrackMasters Academy. Round 4 of GT3 from Imola. Pep's leading, Craig Spencer getting tucked in. Cars getting everywhere. Oh, Pep's getting cleaned up at turn 2. Spencer was right there. Cameron Edwards turned around at turn 1 as well. And cars rejoining all over the shop. That's a rough one for the start of a very long race, even despite instructions being given to drivers that we are going to be taking it relatively easy to make sure everyone gets a fair go. It is still not the case. All my attempts to gain race audio from the scene have not been very good, so we'll go back into just race mode and try and capture all the action. Unfortunately, Mike Pep's getting dropped all the way down from the pole spot, down to P14 in that one. Liam Fisher is off the road. Unfortunately for Liam, you can see him all the way at the back of frame as we pick up with Mike coming up the behind of Johnny Lee on this opening lap of racing. Great to see a good mix of different cars in the field for GT3 tonight. We'll check in with Craig Spencer, who had a little bit of a hip and shoulder to the inside door of Pep's at turn 1. Alexani, our resident driving standards observer, watching on as he's actually following along with Pep's at the moment. So Spencer leads at the end of lap 1 as they come down the main straight. Anthony Jewell looked like he was going to cop a massive serve into turns 1 and 2, but somehow comes out the other side in second. Jeremy Perez into P3, and the RK3 machine of Bryce Moore into P4 as we follow along. A great battle. Oh, one of the NSXs all out sideways. Adrian Casanova getting caught out there. As the whole field is bottled right up. Someone's off the road heading into turn 5 at Villeneuve. And that looks like... not sure who it was actually. It was one of the cars from further behind. Looks like it was Bryce Moore, unfortunately, getting caught up there. As Perez stays in 3. Adrian Casanova now goes to P4. We'll jump back a little bit to this battle. Mason Harvey sits P5 with his all-white Ferrari 458. These young karting kids loving the all-white paint schemes to join in from home and race in the SRT TrackMasters Academy. Round 4 for GT3, and that's a use of track limits if I've ever seen one. Harvey using all of the road and then some, coming out of Minerali at turn 10. At the back of Adrian. These two had a bit of a stoush last week in the Formula Renault 3.5 Series race from the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. Even got yours truly involved in a bit of a squabble on track there. Some good fun had by all, and that's what Wednesday nights are for here at RaceKraft Simulations. Adrian off the track down at turn 14. Lets Mason Harvey go through for 4th. And a great scrap coming up behind him as Adrian rejoins. He's got Dave Baggett getting around him. Adrian drops down to P6. And Cade Bell just behind him in P7. Shane Angelinovic sits P8. Mike Pep's trying to counter back to P9. And Shane Gilfeather joining in from New South Wales sits P10. As we are 4 minutes down into our half an hour GT3 Mini Enduro. I'm going to follow along with Adrian here because he always finds some good racing as Cade Bell fires one up the inside in the black Audi, and then Adrian runs himself out of road on the exit as they come out of turn 7. Tosa hairpin right at the very top of the hill now. As they come out of Piratella down to Minerali, turns 9 and 10. Adrian trying to find a way back onto the back of Cade Bell. And a moan and a grumble coming from Cameron Edwards, who's having a very rough one in the RK5 machine. So our driving standards observer getting involved in a couple of squabbles on track as Adrian Casanova has fully sent it up the inside of Cade Bell, and Mike Peps fires it into the side of Bell for good measure. That's surely going to have a look from our driving standards observer.
That was rough. Fuck, this got into me so hard. Wind me up hard.
Please excuse a brief moment of absence, just dealing with a couple of in-race issues. We'll pick back up with Mason Harvey, the youngster in fourth at the moment, trying to chase down Jeremy Penez in third as they come on down. Last time across, they were separated by a little under 1 second at the line. And Harvey is just ahead of Dave Baggett at the moment by about a second as well last time across. He's lost about a second to Penez, and using all of the track limits as they come out of Piratella and decide to head up the hill. We'll jump in with a couple of our other drivers in here, trying to find a couple of our joining from home drivers through the running order. And we did have Luca Nietzsche in the room earlier, but I seem to have lost him. We're down to just 21 drivers in the field. So we'll do away with that, and we'll jump in with Anthony Jewell, surprisingly making the H-Pattern Bentley GT3 car do the work for him as he tries to chase down Craig Spencer. Craig has been one of these wildcard drivers. Scored himself a jump start last week in the Formula Renault 3.5 Series from Spielberg, Austria, and finds himself in the lead in the opening couple of laps.
Sorry, John. Sorry, John.
22 minutes left to go in this 30-minute race. The action has really opened right up, and we haven't got too many super close battles. The closest ones we do have are still separated by about a second. Mason Harvey and Dave Baggett, 4th and 5th. Further back in the field, we may as well check in here. Cade Bell finding himself trying to drive himself further forward in the field. He's got back around Adrian Casanova, who gave him a right royal serving on the way down towards turn 14 a couple of laps ago. And they come out of Minerali and up the hill. Use all the curbing on the exit. Try and straighten up the car as much as you can. Liam Fisher right behind them. This might be a good, exciting little battle to watch here. Fisher had the quickest lap in qualifying. Disconnected from the session. Rejoined. Had 1 lap and 1 only to set a fast time. And parked himself P5. Then subsequently got caught up in an opening lap incident. And is now all the way down the field again in P10. Oh, Cade Bell runs himself out of road at turn 4. That was all him on his own that time. As he cuts loose trying to turn the car around. He's going to drop all the way down the field behind Andrew Lachlan in P13. We're going to jump forward and grab Adrian Casanova as he comes down the main straight on the run towards Tamburello corner. Hard on the brakes in the chicane. Liam Fisher had a big look from a long way back there, but is unable to make it happen. Fisher! Oh dear, Liam spins it on the way out of Tamburello. And that's going to put him down the order. There's a lot of quick guys getting caught out here. Daniel Pedisano in the Lamborghini. Down in P9 now. Just ahead of the RK4 machine of Cameron Edwards, who had a really rough start actually. I was going to say he had a good start and fell back, but no, had a shocker on the opening lap and sits P10 as he comes up the hill towards Piratella here at P8, just behind the man we are watching now, Pedisano, joining in from home. At the pointy end of the field, Craig Spencer still leads from Anthony Jewell by 2 seconds. Oh, Apetesano runs himself out of brakes into Minerali, and he lets the spot go to Edwards, as now Liam Fisher is going to climb all over the back bumper of the Lamborghini as they run on down to Alta, and Fisher has a bit of a look, tries to fake him out, used a big bite of the curb there but couldn't find a way around as they make their run down the hill towards turns 13, the little kink at the right, then hard left and left again into 14 and 15. Shane Gill further off the road there as he's dropped out and is doing donuts in the grass. Gilfeather joining in from Race Centre in New South Wales, having trouble of his own. So Apetesano now into the 8th spot. Liam Fisher still in P9 trying to hunt him down. And the RK2 machine of Aaron Dooley in that beautiful Mercedes. Love the Mercedes GT3 entries as Fisher has a big look up the inside in the Tamburello. Makes it stick, but can he hold it together? Because this is where he spun not long ago. Keeps it in check this time around. Through turn 4, the left-hander, before they make their way back up the hill towards Villeneuve. And further up the hill towards Tosa, the hard left-hand hairpin. And Apetesano sideways on the way into the corner. Somehow gathered it all up. We jump on board with Liam Fisher as he tries to chase down Cameron Edwards on the RK4 machine, sitting 7th on the track, making a bit of a comeback drive as the gap at the pointy end has come down to 1.6 seconds between Craig Spencer and Anthony Jewell. Keep an eye on that one as Craig Spencer I haven't actually asked him or found out, maybe piloting his Hyundai XL racing car in the XL Enduro Cup this weekend at Barbagallo Raceway for their June race meeting, and it's good to see that spectators are now back allowed on site. And if you want to come along and check it out, you can listen to the dulcet tones of Mr. Vaughan Brewer, who's currently piloting the RK9 machine down in 20th on track. He'll be calling all the action live all weekend at Wanneroo Raceway. It's Fisher in between Edwards and Apetesano as they come out of turn 15. Make their run towards the main straight. We're approaching halfway point here in round 4 for GT3, the SRT TrackMasters Academy from Imola. $16 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in this race. Harvey finds himself in P4, 17 seconds off the race lead, just ahead of Dave Baggett in P5. Adrian Casanova just further behind in the Honda NSX GT3 in P6, and Cameron Edwards behind him. And this is a bit of a tight battle that's happening as the camera finally comes into focus. Got a real tight shot there inside the virtual NSX GT3 as they come down into turn 13. Just behind them, Liam Fisher and Daniel Apetesano, 8th and 9th. Trying to put pressure on as they come around the final couple of corners before they make a run to the line, and we're about to cross over the halfway point. In this race, line astern they come on the run towards turn 16. Full race update time, Craig Spencer leads the way by 1.9 seconds over Anthony Jewell in second, rocking the H-pattern shifter in the Bentley GT3. Jeremy Penez in third, Mason Harvey in fourth from Dave Baggett in P5. And look at that, 20 seconds covers your top 5 drivers. The battle at the front is close, but it spreads out real quick behind them. Dave Baggett P5 now, Adrian Casanova in P6, Cameron Edwards P7. And this is a tight one here between Casanova, Edwards, Apetesano and Fisher all covered by about 3 seconds as a Pedisano finds trouble. Aaron Dooley slots into P9. Then the RK3 machine of Bryce Moore in P10. Shane Angelinovic sits P12. Shane Gilfeather in P13. Mike Peps 14. Andrew Lachlan in 15. Johnny Lee trying to chase down his mate in P16. Still losing out to Lockie there, Johnny. Steve Myber in P17 from Jake in 18. Cade Bell 19. And the RK9 machine of Vaughan Brewer in P20. So that's your current race standings with 14 minutes and 10 left to go. We're going to follow along with Adrian Casanova, who's dropped himself into P6. And it looks like they've managed to gap out a little bit. As Pedisano found trouble. He might have had a race incident with Liam Fisher. I'm not sure what happened there as they had the timings up at the time. But it does seem like Fisher has found trouble somewhere around the racetrack. He has dropped right off. As Adrian Casanova trying to defend from a hard-charging Cameron Edwards as they make their way out of Ravazza and on the way to the Bassam Main Straight. And this beautiful racing circuit, old school race circuit, had the pit lane redesigned in the early 2000s with the project led by the one and only Herman Tilk. As Casanova comes on out of Tamburello before they left-hand kink and up the hill towards Villeneuve and Tosa. Got to be very quick on settling the car back down and using the exit curbing when you can. The gap that he holds over Cameron Edwards sits at only half a second. One little mistake and Edwards is going to be pouncing on him to go to P6 in this one. But Adrian is countering nicely. Going a little bit quicker than his previous sector time through sector 1 of the lap by about a tenth or two. Keeping it tucked in nicely out of Piratella down the hill before darting across the racetrack and trying to square it up under brakes into turn 10 at Minerali. And that's not how you do it, Adrian. And Edwards comes out of the corner and darts to the left-hand side. Adrian does the right thing and jumps out of the way. A very clean racer. And a post-race penalty being dished out to Shane Angelinovic, it seems like. Casanova drops off to P7 now, giving up the spot to Cameron Edwards in P6. The gap at the front still hasn't changed. Spencer leads by 1.8 seconds. And then another 17 seconds back to Jeremy Prenez, who would feel like he's leading a race of his own at the moment. The leaders are well and truly checked out around this racetrack. And they are at the top of the hill as he comes out of Tamburello. And he's being chased by Mason Harvey. Currently the gap sits at 2.1 seconds between them as Pernez comes out of Villeneuve chicane. The gap to Harvey coming down to 1.9, then opening back up as they come onto the straight and up the hill towards Piratella. We'll go back to Dave Baggett, who currently sits on the 5 spot, and he's got himself a healthy margin over Cameron Edwards in P6. That gap sits at 5.5 seconds at the moment as Baggett runs himself wide coming out of Piratella before trying to square things back up down the hill into turns 9 and 10 at Minerali. Keeping the Lamborghini checked up under brakes. Lots of talk before this race about how wild the Lamborghini is to drive, how squirrely the back end it can be. The GT3 spec Lamborghini Huracan, as he pours himself through the chicane at Alta and makes his run back down further. Trying to chase down Harvey. 1.2 seconds between them. Looks like Harvey's giving himself a little bit of breather off the back of Jeremy Pernez. But your leaders, something's happened. Oh no. Anthony Jewell hung in there for as long as he could, but he gave up the ghost. He's now dropped 11 seconds off the race lead. Young Ant won't be too happy with himself. Said he was going to have some fun tonight. And then he goes out all serious with the Bentley GT3 and a H-pattern shifter. Having a look over across the room here at RaceKraft Simulations, he is still using the H-pattern. Good to see Anthony sticking to his guns and trying to make it happen. Less than 10 minutes to go. There we go. 9 minutes and 35 seconds left in this half an hour race for the SRT TrackMasters Academy. Round 4 for GT3 here from Imola. Eight minutes left to go here in this race for round 4 of the SRT TrackMasters Academy GT3 Championship from Imola Raceway. As we follow Anthony Jewell for the last couple of moments, we'll try and seek out some of the battles. Still looking pretty tight between Dave Baggett and Mason Harvey. Oh, just as we go to frame, Liam Fisher is not having a good night, folks. Liam spins it on the way out of the Villeneuve chicane, and Mason Harvey has found himself dropping back to P5 behind Dave Baggett. Craig Spencer still leads, 12.5 seconds clear of Anthony Jewell in second. Jeremy Penez in P3. Dave Baggett P4 from Harvey in 5. Cameron Edwards has been leading a very steady race at this point, climbing his way back up into P6 and trying to put some pressure on these guys to break into the top 5 after starting there and getting turned around on lap 1 in the first corner shenanigans on the way to Tamburello chicane. Harvey, a big bite of the curb into Variante Alta. And he finds himself currently 8 tenths of a second down on Baggett, 1.3 up on Edwards. Cameron Edwards making a comment on how much curb that Mason is. Oh, and Baggett just flashing through the frame has spun it. And unfortunately, that puts Baggett down the list now. And Cameron Edwards finds himself into P5 with his eyes forward, trying to chase down Mason Harvey. 6 minutes and 20 left to go. Edwards finds himself inside the top 5. Earned himself a nickname recently, I Race for Sheep Stations. Can blame Jeff Duckworth for that one. We brought him on and gave him the nickname during the Lux Performance Racing for Mindy Sin Cup a couple of weeks ago. So I've heard whisperings of a post-race penalty going to be dished out. We'll bring that to you as we know more. Mason Harvey brings it up the hill towards Piratella. He leads Cameron Edwards into the left-hander before they turn down the hill again. Come on down towards turns 9 and 10 of the 5 kilometre long Imola main circuit. Harvey really loving the inside curb at turn 10. Cutting as much out of it as he possibly can. You can see Daniel Lepedasano just behind them in P6. Dave Baggett has dropped all the way down to P7 now.
We are supposed to be staying inside the white lines, aren't we?
I've already set it up to his, I don't think he's in Discord, so he's already got the 10-second post-race penalty, so you're not racing in that room. getting more penalties. I want to stop at 10 seconds, but I can't really do anything.
So 4.5 minutes left to go. We'll follow this one as it starts to heat up between Mason Harvey and Cameron Edwards. Harvey cutting everything out of the track that he possibly can.
Oh, scared of ya.
Edwards is trying to close the gap. He's mounted a big recovery drive, and he has eyes on to try and get up as high as even third in the next 4 minutes. We'll follow this one along as it's the closest battle we've got. With the most amount of potential, as Daniel Pedisano has been making inroads on this little battle pack as well. He sits P6 just at the back of that group there in the white and black Lamborghini Huracan with Dave Baggett out of frame and Adrian Casanova just coming into frame momentarily here and there in the green and grey Honda NSX GT3. We follow Harvey out of Piratella down the hill towards turns 9 and 10. The green and black Audi is out of position. I think that belongs to Vaughan Brewer in the RK9 machine. So a little bit of lap traffic is going to play a part here in this one. With 3.5 minutes left to go. And the call will be coming through soon, surely. As I'll just quickly jump on and see if that is the car. Yes, it is. Vaughan Brewer in RK9 about to go a lap down to your battle pack to be P4, 3, 4, and 5. As Pernes has really lost time to Harvey and Edwards. Will follow them as they just appear behind Vaughan Brewer, coming up in any moment now to try and put a move on. As they're monstering Pernes. They've dropped him 2 spots. Edwards and Harvey into each other. They both recover and Pernes goes back through for third. Very touch and go on the way out of turn 15 onto the main straight. Now the eyes are going to be on because they know it can happen within a lap. Edwards still has to catch and pass Pernes if he wants third. Vaughan Brewer is just ahead of this group. He's holding pretty good pace at the moment. As behind him, Harvey and Edwards go hammer and tong up the hill towards Villeneuve chicane. Harvey using all of the curb he possibly can. Edwards trying to tuck it in nice and tight as they head up towards Tosa. Edwards fires it up the inside and parks the Audi R8 on the apex, getting it done and moves himself up a spot now. Now for the eyes forward to try and challenge Pernes for third. This will be a great recovery drive from Edwards if he can make this happen and put himself on the bottom step of the podium for round 4 of the SRT TrackMasters Academy GT3 Championship from Imola tonight. 3rd, 4th and 5th. You can throw a blanket over them as Pernes uses a bit of extra curve through turn 9. Edwards a little bit sideways on the exit of turn 10 though. Finds himself almost under pressure from Harvey as they come up into the Alta chicane. Harvey using all of that track exit again. We'll grab Cameron Edwards and focus on whether he can close this gap to Pernes for third. Vaughan Brewer doing a great job at the moment of holding position. He is about to go a lap down from these guys, but he's been in that spot for a little bit of time now and is lapping on similar pace. So Brewer throwing the call out. He's going to button out of it, coming down the main straight and indicating guys to go to the right-hand side. Great piece of sportsmanship here from RaceKraft Simulations. Great to watch. And now the battle is on for third. Pernes wide at Tamburello before they go through turn 4, the tight little left-hander, and up the hill towards Villeneuve chicane. It's right neck and neck, bumper to bumper as they head into turns 5 and 6. Pernes using a little bit of the inside curb. Edwards is right there. Mason Harvey hot on his heels. Edwards has a little peek up the inside. Pernes shuts the door in his face. And Edwards has to be real careful here. 15 seconds left to go. This is the win it or bin it moment in this lap to try and snatch the podium. As Craig Spencer brings it around the back half of the lap. And will surely hit the line any moment now. We're going to focus on this one. Down the hill into turns 9 and 10. Pernes, Edwards and Harvey. Under brakes into turn 10. Harvey closes up a little bit, but can't make any ground as they come out of 10 on the run towards Alta chicane for the final time. Time has expired. And Craig Spencer has finished. Spencer claims himself the win. as they come out of Alta Harvey all the way outside track limits, trying to find any advantage he can on Edwards. He might cause an upset for Edwards as they come through turn 13. Anthony Jewell is about to find his way across the line through turns 14 and 15. Edwards gets a little hip and shoulder off the racetrack from Harvey as they come out of 15 and down the line. Jeremy Penez is going to hold on for this one to be third in tonight's round 4 of the SRT TrackMasters Academy GT3. Jewell claims second. Penez comes across the line for third. Cameron Edwards fourth. And Mason Harvey rounds out your top 5 in a thrilling final lap. Put your hands together for these guys. Great racing all the way to the end.
I was going alright until I got shunned pretty hard. And then I was
Dave Baggett brings it across the line to finish P6. Adrian Casanova, P7. Daniel Lapedasano in P8. Liam Fisher, unfortunately, ends up this one in P9. And the RK2 machine of Aaron Dooley rounds out your top 10. So that's your finishing order. Congratulations out to Craig Spencer, claiming a win in tonight's proceeding with the best lap of a 145.7. And he claimed that win by 14 seconds over Anthony Jewell at the line. And Jeremy Perez comes home for third. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Chris Mitchell, bringing you all the action from round 4 of the SRT TrackMasters Academy from Imola. If you want to get in touch and find out how you can come and do any of the racing with us here at RaceKraft Simulations, head on over to their Facebook page and ask away. Come on down and have a drive. Until next time, have a good night.